Just before the 2012 presidential election, Michelle Obama spoke at her husband's final political rally of the campaign, which took place in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, no one ever paid any attention to this speech because it was full of the usual platitudes you'd expect. But in retrospect, when you compare the Michelle Obama from 2012 to the Michelle Obama of today, there are a few things worth noticing about it. First of all, in 2012, Michelle Obama wasn't anywhere near as angry as she is today. In her 10-minute speech in Des Moines, she laughed it up with Bruce Springsteen. She said she was thrilled to be there, repeatedly told the crowd how much she loved them. She reminisced about the house parties in Sioux City, all the kindness and warmth on the campaign trail, how funny it was to see Barack Obama's face carved in butter at the fairgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. She also didn't attack any particular demographic group or demand anything from any particular demographic group. Instead, she said that, quote, every single one of us deserves a shot at the, quote, American dream, regardless of skin color or gender. Again, not exactly earth-shattering stuff. And she didn't actually mean any of it, obviously. Throughout its 8 years in power, the Obama administration did everything it could to divide Americans on the basis of race while making middle-class families poorer. But a decade ago, Michelle Obama was able to pretend otherwise, at least in the final days of the campaign. She was able to pretend that she was happy to be on the campaign trail and working to help all Americans, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the Michelle Obama of 2024 is nothing like that. Instead, right now, Michelle Obama is very angry and disappointed. And just like her husband, she's incapable of hiding it. At a speech in Kalamazoo, Michigan on Saturday, Michelle didn't even try to deliver a message that will appeal to every American. Instead, she told men that nothing they care about actually matters. It doesn't matter if they're fed up about the economy or crime or anything like that. All men should care about, according to Michelle, is advancing the interests of women, specifically liberal women. So this is at least a more honest Michelle than we're used to. Her goal is to divide Americans, and because she's furious that Donald Trump might win again, she's not even hiding it. But before I go any further, I want to begin on a positive note. In her speech, Michelle did something that all Democrats do when they're accidentally being honest, which is that she completely forgot all about the trans ideology nonsense. When Michelle talked about advancing the interests of women, she made it clear that she's talking about adult human females. She's talking about people with female reproductive organs. Watch.
Look, a woman's body is complicated business, y'all. Yes, it brings life, and that's a beautiful thing. But even when we are not bearing children, there is so much that can go wrong at any moment. Every woman here knows what I'm talking about. An unexpected lump, an abnormal pap smear or mammogram, an infection, a blockage, all of which could be early signs of a variety of life-threatening cancers.
But just for the record, by the way, men can also get cancer, and things can go wrong in a man's body. In fact, men die earlier than women do on average. So, but anyway, Michelle Obama says, every woman here knows what I'm talking about, as she describes abnormal pap smears and mammograms. She adds that a woman's body brings life, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, in any other context, this would be considered trans erasure. It would be genocide, actually. It'd be the single greatest hate crime of the century. Here you have one of the most prominent Democrats in the country openly denying the existence of trans women. She's saying that it's impossible to have a woman who doesn't need a pap smear. She's saying women, by their nature, are capable of giving birth. So much for what? The last 20 years of transgender activism? Just out the window. Michelle is so angry about Kamala Harris's poll numbers that she's dropping the whole trans charade completely. Like it never happened. Of course, there'll be no outrage from trans activists about this because they're really just fronts for the DNC, but there's more. As the speech in Michigan continued, Michelle lashed out in a way that's honestly pretty incredible. Watch as Michelle explains that whatever their concerns may be, men should put them to the side because really all that matters is what women like Michelle Obama want. Watch.
So fellas, before you cast your votes, ask yourselves, what side of history do you want to be on? But to anyone out there thinking about sitting out this election or voting for Donald Trump or a third-party candidate in protest because you're fed up, let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. So are you as men prepared to look into the eyes of the women and children you love and tell them that you supported this assault on our safety? And to the women listening, we have every right to demand that the men in our lives do better by us. We have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment. And we are more than just baby-making vessels.
Now, this is a message that Democrats started seriously pushing around a month ago when Barack Obama showed up to Kamala's campaign headquarters and did the literal finger wag at black men, saying they're misogynists if they won't support the female candidate. Then it progressed with Stacey Abrams, who doubled down on that message. And now Michelle Obama is delivering the same attack on tens of millions of men. This is apparently supposed to convince men to turn out and vote for Kamala Harris, even though it's obvious to any sane, well-adjusted man that it's going to do exactly the opposite. Now, as I've emphasized many times now, it's clear that the Democrats have no message for men. They have made no attempts to appeal to men at all. Every time they speak to men, they're really just speaking to women. And Michelle Obama just came out and made that explicit. A bit of a side note, but on the same note, really, I was watching football yesterday, and I noticed as I was watching the game that there were maybe 4 or 5 Trump ads, maybe more. And they mostly touted Trump's economic record, his courage in surviving an assassination attempt. They attacked Kamala for her pro-trans extremism. Meanwhile, I saw 1 or 2 Kamala ads, and those mostly attacked Trump for his non-existent affiliation with Project 2025. So that's how they're both messaging. But here's the thing. Like, men don't care about Project 2025. You ask any average male voter what they're most worried about, what their concerns are going into the election. None of them are going to say Project 2025. So Trump knows how to talk to the NFL audience, who are mostly men, as much as the NFL likes to pretend otherwise. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz simply don't. But inside the machinery of the Democrat Party, they clearly think that they have a winning strategy here. Jon Favreau, the former Obama speechwriter, wrote this in response to Michelle Obama's speech in Michigan, quote, "The most powerful message to young men in the entire campaign." And then he pasted this clip in particular.
So to the men who love us, let me just try to paint a picture of what it will feel like if America, the wealthiest nation on earth, keeps revoking basic care from its women, and how it will affect every single woman in your life. Your girlfriend could be the one in legal jeopardy if she needs a pill from out of state or overseas, or if she has to travel across state lines because the local clinic closed up. Your wife or mother could be the ones at higher risk of dying from undiagnosed cervical cancer because they have no access to regular gynecological care. Your daughter could be the one too terrified to call the doctor if she's bleeding during an unexpected pregnancy.
Now, of course, everything she says in that clip is a lie. If a woman comes to you and says she's afraid to go to the hospital because she's bleeding, the appropriate response is to let her know that, like, that's not a thing. Like, go to the hospital. You can get care for in a medical emergency. There is no law in this country, even in states with so-called abortion bans, that prevents a hospital from saving a woman's life or rendering any kind of urgent necessary care. That doesn't exist. It's a total lie. But again, the bigger issue isn't the lies. We all expect lies from a speech like this. The really astonishing thing is that Democrats really believe that the most powerful message to young men in the entire campaign, quote unquote, is Michelle Obama talking about women. You'd think a powerful message to young men might address, say, why young men die of suicide and drug overdoses at extremely high rates compared to women. Or it might address why so many young men are struggling to find employment and afford houses so they can raise a family. But no, Democrats believe that a powerful message to young men is to tell them how to serve the interests of women. Let's talk about something that affects all of us, taxes. The October 15th deadline has passed, and if you're not prepared, you could be in for a world of hurt. Do you owe back taxes? Are your returns still unfiled? Did you miss the deadline to file for an extension? Now that we're past October 15th, the IRS is probably gearing up for some aggressive enforcement, and trust me, you don't want to be on their radar. We're talking wage garnishments, frozen bank accounts, or even property seizures. It's not pretty, folks. But before you start panicking, there's still hope. Tax Network USA has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt and filed over 10,000 tax returns. These guys specialize in reducing tax burdens for hardworking Americans just like you. Look, I get it. Dealing with the IRS is about as fun as a root canal, but ignoring the problem won't make it go away. Don't wait any longer. For a complimentary consultation, call today at 1-800-958-1000 or visit their website at tnusa.com/Walsh. Their experts will walk you through a few simple questions to see how much you can save. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh today. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Get the help you need with Tax Network USA. Now, to be fair, there is one point in the speech where Michelle claims that she cares about the interests of men. Specifically, she says that it's good for men when women are allowed to kill their children because then men can go to college. Watch.
The devastating consequences of teen pregnancy won't just be borne by young girls, but also by the young men who are the fathers. They too will have their dreams of going to college. Their entire future is totally upended by an unwanted pregnancy. If you and your partner are expecting a child, you will be right by her side at the checkups, terrified if her blood pressure is too high, or if there's an issue with the placenta, or if the ultrasound shows that the embryo was implanted in the wrong place, and the doctors aren't sure that they can intervene to keep the woman you love safe.
Now, it's hard to overstate how demonic the messaging from Democrats has become. In her whole speech, this is her one suggestion for how she can improve the lives of men. Vote for us, and you can have as much meaningless sex as you want, and then you can abandon the woman, and she can kill your child. That's basically the pitch. And women are supposed to like that too, even though it's hard to imagine a more demeaning way of looking at women or their children. The only way to make sense out of this is that Democrats see this election as a chance for women to get revenge, right? This is how they're going to strike back at the patriarchy. Kamala Harris hopes that female rage will carry her to the White House. Now, the only problem is that none of them have any idea why they need revenge or what they're so upset about. I mean, the easy answer is abortion, and it's true that Kamala's female voters are idolaters who worship on the altar of human sacrifice, but most of them live in states that still have legal abortion. So all of this rage is completely pointless. It's not actually going to change anything in their lives. Now, of course, Michelle is the perfect avatar for this blind, pointless rage, though. She's been walking around with a chip on her shoulder and a perpetual sneer across her face ever since her husband was elected to his first term in office. She's been given wealth and power beyond all imagining and well beyond what she deserved on the merits, and she's still angry. She doesn't know why she's angry. None of them do. That's why it wasn't as shocking as it should have been to see a Kamala supporter literally screaming at a baby the other day. This is from Harris's rally in Houston on Friday night. Watch this. So she comes over and screams in the face of a baby in a stroller. And it wasn't even like heat of the moment. Not that there could be any heat of the moment where screaming at a baby would be okay. But she walks up, like she navigates through the crowd, positions herself in front of the stroller, and then starts screaming at the baby. These people hate everything and everyone, children most of all. There is something deeply broken in the minds and souls of Kamala's female voter base. These are broken people. And Kamala Harris hopes to ride their dysfunction and emotional dysregulation to the White House. Now, at this point, I don't think it'll work, but if it does, I mean, this country is in trouble. America's first black president used his position to inflame racial tensions. And as a country, we paid the price with 15 years of BLM race riots. So what will America's first female president do to the already fraught relationship between the sexes? Based on the messages we're seeing, we can only assume it'll be even worse. Democrats are telling men that their role in life is to serve the interests of liberal women. Meanwhile, women are being told that killing their own children is in their best interests. None of that's true. What is true is that Michelle Obama, like her husband, sees a divided America as the key to the power of the Democrat Party. And that is why Michelle Obama and all the other Democrats who are making their disdain for men very clear in the final days of this presidential campaign are today canceled. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.